I was the prime disciple of the Grand Elder of the Soul's Disorder, one of the 5 great factions. When I was 11, my body was hijacked by a soul from another dimension. Something called the interface bound my movements, claiming I was a villain and that this intruder needed to complete tasks to save me. 10 years later, my master took in a new, younger disciple. This junior, hailed as the protagonist, rapidly dismantled 10 years of the intruder's hard work and achievements. In just 1 year, the intruder was psychologically tortured and spiritually damaged by my master, my fiancée, and my junior sister. When I finally reclaimed my body, I found myself standing before the Council of Elders and the entire student body, accused of provoking a sacred beast and stealing a spirit herb from the novice protagonist. The whole order had gathered to judge me. Perhaps the intruder gave them the illusion that I, a prodigy from the capital's elite Blackwood family, was a pushover. If that's the case, then burning this order to the ground seems like a fair response. My name is Julian Blackwood, born to the prestigious Blackwood dynasty of the capital. At 6, I was identified as having a rare aerokinetic core. Grandmaster Vanessa Gale of the Solstice Order took me as her lead apprentice. My talent was terrifying. I mastered energy channeling in a week, stabilized my foundation at 8, and formed my core at 10, shaking the entire magical world. But at 11, the interface dragged a foreign soul into my body. From their internal dialogue, I learned I was living in a storybook world, and I was the designated antagonist. Because of my cold nature, my relationships with Vanessa, my fiancée Lydia Rose, my junior sister Serena Vance, and the rest of the order were distant. In the future, the protagonist Liam Ford would join under Vanessa. Everything I own would be taken by him, causing me to snap and become a true villain, opposing him at every turn. Eventually betrayed by my master, fiancée, and sister, I would have my core gouged out, be expelled, and die alone. So, this villain salvation system kidnapped, summoned, another soul to force him into a redemption arc. I watched as the intruder, Nolan, spent a decade sucking up to Vanessa and the girls, building relationships with the students, and using system rewards to buy their affection. He spent 10 peaceful years this way. In the 11th year, Liam appeared with lightning speed. Liam stole Vanessa's doting affection, Lydia's concern, and Serena's admiration. Nolan's 10 years of effort evaporated. He was framed for stealing his junior's glory, accused of being a peeping Tom on his fiancée, and labeled a bully who forced his sister to train. The dean and the elders condemned him without investigation, and the students dragged his name through the mud. He was thrown into the punishment gorges repeatedly, leaving his body and soul battered. But Nolan didn't believe in bad endings. He refused to believe 10 years of emotional investment could vanish so easily. So he continued to give, only to be backstabbed and tortured over and over again. Watching him get wrecked repeatedly, I couldn't help but ask the interface, "Is the soul you drag here a masochist?" The interface remained silent. Another year passed. During an off-campus mission, Liam and Serena tried to steal a phoenix egg from a cavern, provoking the Inferno Phoenix. Nolan fought the beast to the death to protect them, but the two of them abandoned him and ran. Over the last 11 years, Nolan had spent so much time on relationship quests that despite possessing my god-tier talent, he had only just reached the Archeage tier. He finally killed the Phoenix, but was left on the brink of death. The interface blared, warning, "Host, please open your eyes immediately." But Nolan lay in a pool of blood, his soul suffering critical trauma. I floated in the void, watching it all, and said coldly, "He deserves it." Suddenly, Nolan opened his eyes. "Who? What voice?" I paused. Because of the system's interference, he hadn't heard me for 11 years. Was it because he was dying? I spoke. "I'm the owner of this body, the real Julian Blackwood. I've been here the whole time, bound by the system, unable to surface." Nolan wept. "So that's it. My name is Nolan." It was the first time in 11 years the transmigrator had spoken his true name. He was grieving, kidnapped, summoned to a strange world for over a decade. forced to grovel to Vanessa and the others for a mission, only to be crushed by the so-called protagonist. Nolan's soul was riddled with holes beyond repair. Yet he apologized to me. "I'm sorry for occupying your body all these years. I am Sod. I couldn't save you." In that moment, I felt a strange twinge. Although he hijacked my body, he had kept me company for 11 years. I didn't agree with his methods, but I had watched his efforts. Seeing his soul on the verge of shattering, I actually felt a shred of pity. Warning, life force dropped to 10 points. The interface panicked, but Nolan closed his eyes. Done with it all. I sighed. Watching my own body rot in the wilderness was unpleasant. "System, can you hear me? Julian Blackwood, how did you get out?" The interface was shocked to see my soul manifestation. It didn't know that 10 years ago I had been testing the chains. I was a generational genius. My soul was unshakable. The system had pacified me by giving me access to a library of otherworldly knowledge, technology, literature, and strategy. I love knowledge, so I had allowed no one to take the wheel. But now he was fading, and if he died, I would become a stepping stone father for Liam. I told the system, "Since no one is finished, let me out. I'll complete the mission for him." What? The system was stunned, but with no one soul critical, it compromised. It had no choice. Re-entering my body felt strange at first, but I had a plan. I knew Nolan called the system's gifts cheats. I needed to know what assets he had left. I was speechless. Aside from supplies, the system had a massive cheat, a hyperbolic training space. It was one use, but time inside stood still relative to the outside world. Plus, no one had used points to exchange for rare elixirs. With all these advantages, no one had barely used them on himself, instead gifting them to those ingrates to buy their love. Idiot. I recalled a massive mountain in the distance with a giant Buddhist statue. I felt no one should have gone there, told the statue to stand up, and sat down in its place. He was that much of a saint. I picked up the phoenix egg Liam had discarded during his escape, went to a cave, and activated the training space. I set the timer to the maximum, 80 years. I consumed the egg and every pill the system had. When I emerged, my battered body was healed, and a terrifying power surged within me. I sped to a nearby town, wrote a letter to the Blackwood family, and prepared my return. When I arrived at the order, the dean, Grandmaster Vanessa, the elders, and the onlookers looked at me with disgust, especially Lydia and Serena. They looked at me like I was trash. Behind them stood a handsome, sorrowful-looking man with his head down. My junior brother, Liam, ignoring the glares, I bowed respectfully to the dean and Vanessa. Disciple Julian Blackwood returns. Julian, kneel. Before the dean could speak, my beloved master shouted. I smiled flatly. Master, that's a strange request. I just returned from a mission with Serena and Liam. They disobeyed my orders, provoked the Inferno Phoenix, and I fought the beast to near death to save them. Yet, they ran away and left me. I cast a mocking glance at the pale Serena and the terrified Liam. Tell me, Master, will my juniors abandon their senior to die? Why am I the one kneeling instead of them? The crowd looked shocked. Serena and Liam hadn't expected me to spill the truth. They had clearly fed Vanessa a pack of lies. After all, when Nolan was in charge, he was a mute doormat who took the blame for everything. The dean frowned at the pair, but Vanessa cut in. You traitor! Still making excuses. A massive wave of pressure exploded from her, forcing the gossiping students to the ground. But I stood there looking at her completely unmoved. Vanessa pointed a trembling finger at me. Liam and Serena told me everything. You tried to steal the phoenix egg yourself and nearly got them killed. I laughed. Master, you believe whatever they say, but refuse to believe a word I say. You have a track record of malice. Why should I believe you? She screamed. Excellent. She said it. A track record of malice. That reputation only started a year ago, didn't it? In the 10 years before that, my reputation was spotless. I had to admit, Nolan's strategy had built immense goodwill until Liam arrived and it all vanished like smoke. Vanessa paused, stunned. The old Nolan would never argue, let alone target Liam. But to me, This woman was just a squatter in the role of my teacher. Aside from a useless herb and a rusted sword at my initiation, she had ignored me to go into seclusion. My cultivation was the result of my own genius. She was not a qualified master. Julian, what are you blathering about? Serena, enraged by my slight against Liam, charged forward. She screamed, "You provoked the Phoenix. You nearly got Liam and me killed. You lying scum." Smack! The sound of the slap echoed across the plaza. Serena hit the ground hard. She hadn't expected the usually submissive me to strike back, especially in public. "You dare hit me, you bastard." Serena, always volatile, scrambled up to retaliate. I raised my knee and, as she rushed in, kicked her square in the chest without hesitation. The impact sent her flying, ribs cracked. She vomited blood. "Traitor, what are you doing?" Vanessa shouted from the dais, shocked. Lydia, Liam, and everyone else were frozen. Lydia gritted her teeth. "Julian, how dare you be so cruel to your own sister?" Liam put on a sad face. "Yes, senior brother. How could you?" "Careful with your words," I said coldly. Everyone saw how Serena treated her senior brother just now. If she can disrespect me today, tomorrow she'll disrespect the master and the dean. As her senior, I'm obligated to educate her so she doesn't make a fatal mistake later. You, Vanessa, prepared to scold me, but I turned to the dean. "Dean, the order's rule states juniors must respect seniors." Serena cursed at me in public. How is my discipline incorrect? Well, the dean and the elders looked awkward. I smirked. The dean was Vanessa's junior. Her domineering personality meant they still defer to her. If they said Serena could disrespect me, the order's hierarchy would collapse. And everyone could see Serena's behavior was enabled by Vanessa. Vanessa ground her teeth, wanted to kill me. She was usually a stickler for rules with me, but with Liam, the rules vanished. Impudent. You hurt your sister and think you're right. Vanessa released another wave of pressure. I stood like a statue while the surrounding students groaned, internal organs rattling, coughing blood. "Grandmaster, calm down," the dean pleaded, seeing the collateral damage. "Master, you gathered everyone here to judge if I provoked the Phoenix." I sneered, pulling a memory crystal from my pocket. "Phoenix, let's see who the real culprit is." The crystal projected a massive blue hologram. It showed the morning's events. This was one of the system's features recording everything Nolan and I saw. "No," Liam yelled, realizing what it was, and lunged to stop the playback. I waved my hand, and a blast of wind sent him tumbling away. "Liam." Lydia glared at me before rushing to check on him. Wonderful. The woman engaged to me was coddling another man in front of her fiancé. The Rose family raised him well. The projection showed me harvesting Hailu fruit when chaos erupted behind me. Liam and Serena sprinted into view, pursued by the berserk Inferno Phoenix. In Liam's arms was a giant phoenix egg. The crowd turned strange gazes toward the pale Liam and the struggling Serena. The evidence was undeniable. They provoked the beast, then framed me. I looked at Vanessa's darkened face. So standing on trial should be the good junior brother and sister who brought disaster on me and then lied about it. The pressure shifted to Vanessa. She wouldn't let her pet disciple be punished, but doing nothing would prove her bias to the entire order. She loved her reputation too much, so she waved her hand and slapped Serena across the plaza. Serena, already broken from my kick, vomited more blood, her mind blank. "Serena, you took Liam to the cave without permission, provoked the beast, and framed your brother. Who saved you? Do you confess, master?" Serena was confused. She never expected her idolized teacher to scapegoat her. I sneered. To protect the favorite, despair must be sacrificed. I didn't take him. Liam said he wanted to go. Serena looked at Liam, begging for backup. Liam turned his head, looking tragic. "Sister, how can you blame me? I never said that." Crack. I could hear Serena's heartbreak. "Liam, what are you saying? You said you wanted to be strong like Julian. You wanted the egg." Liam wept louder. "Sister, the rules forbid provoking sacred beasts. You said senior brother forced you to train too hard, and you wanted to steal the egg to lure the phoenix to kill him. You Serena tried to argue, but Vanessa slammed her into the pavement with telekinetic force. More blood. The sound of her golden core shattering was audible. Serena Vance, disrespecting your senior, framing your junior. Do you confess? No, not me. Serena was dying, reaching a hand toward Liam. Liam hid behind Lydia. Hilarious. A dog-eat-dog show. I threw more fuel on the fire. I didn't realize sister hated training so much. I heard rumors that I was a tyrant for forcing her to cultivate. Is wanting her to succeed wrong? The crowd looked uncomfortable. They joined the order to train. Since when was discipline evil? I smiled. Serena was finished. Sister, since you hate training, return everything I gave you. Give it to Junior Liam. What? Everyone gasped. Vanessa frowned. Julian, what do you mean? I sighed. I won't force her anymore. But the resources I gave her shouldn't be wasted. Return them and give them to someone needy, like Liam. Don't you agree, Master? Vanessa's eyes lit up. Anything that benefited her precious Liam was a good idea. Vanessa knew Serena had many treasures from Nolan. She turned to Lydia. Since this traitor Serena refuses to cultivate, her assets belong to Liam. Lydia, strip her of everything. Master. Serena was stunned. She used to give Liam gifts voluntarily, but being robbed by Vanessa was different. Lydia looked embarrassed, but approached Serena. Sorry, junior sister. No, don't. Serena's core shattered, lying helpless as Lydia looted her. Her glass sword, rare elixirs, talismans, all high-tier gifts from Nolan were piled up. The students watched with envy and disgust. Senior Julian was so generous. Yeah, she called him evil, but she lived off his charity. Winning great. Serena gritted her teeth, unable to speak. The betrayal was absolute. When Liam accepted the loot, greed flashed in his eyes before he masked it. Thank you, senior brother, sister. Serena turned purple with shame. I chuckled and turned to Vanessa. Master, if that's all, I'm leaving. Wait. Vanessa snarled. I called you here for more than that. Liam's moonlight herb was stolen. He saw you take it. Confess. Moonlight herb? I laughed. I was a weed for novices. I formed my golden core at 10. I had no use for it. Liam saw me. Master, you really are something. Liam sobbed again. Senior brother, I believe you have a reason. I'd seen concubines in my father's harem. Act with more dignity. Vanessa, tell me, I said, dropping the honorific. Aside from the fact that Liam just looted a fortune, why would I, a cultivator at the ascended rank, steal a weed from a novice? Ascendant. The plaza went silent. I waved my arm. A terrifying, invisible force slammed the entire assembly, students, elders, even the dean, into the dirt. This power, the dean turned pale, pressed against the stone. They had forgotten. I was a Blackwood, a generational monster. 80 years in the system space had pushed me to the peak of this world. Up was Vanessa, struggling under the pressure. Thanks to being abandoned by those two, I had an epiphany during the death match with a phoenix. I increased the pressure, crushing Lydia and Vanessa into the ground. I didn't kill them yet. I was a righteous cultivator, the heir of Blackwood. Slaughtering them openly would stain my family's name. They needed a specific kind of end. Do you think I need trash? The elders realized how stupid the accusation was. But Lydia, brain damaged by love, popped a healing pill, one of Nolan's gifts, and yelled, You're jealous of Liam. You stole out of spite. I laughed. Lydia, you talk about him, so much one would think he was your fiancé. Shut up. I wish he was. I never wanted to be engaged to a pervert like you. She was referring to the peeping Tom incident. According to the system, Liam was the peeper, a classic harem protagonist trope, but Lydia had pinned it on Nolan based on a vague shadow. I've explained that I was in the alchemy hall that night. The records prove it, but you refuse to listen. Fina, consider the engagement annulled. What? Lydia froze. Nolan had been her lapdog, but to me, she was just a business merger. I snapped my fingers. Two shadows materialized behind me. Young Master, East and Weston, my family's elite enforcers, both archmages. The dean gasped. The Blackwood guards. Easton, you heard Miss Rose. She considers me a shame. Tell father to cancel the marriage contract and terminate all business dealings with the Rose family immediately. Easton glared at Lydia and unleashed a shock wave, blasting her back. She tumbled, ribs cracking again. What are you doing? Vanessa tried to intervene, but the dean held her back. Don't. That's the Blackwood family, Easton sneered. Lydia Rose has slandered my young master and acted intimately with another man. She is unfit to be the Blackwood matriarch. Lydia coughed blood. Lies, she peeped. Enough. I cut her off. I have alibis. You chose not to check them. Easton, let's go. Wait, Lydia shouted, terrified. Without Blackwood backing, her family would crumble. Weston stepped forward, radiating killing intent. Dean Sterling, we see how the Solstice Order treats our heir. The Blackwood family withdraws, all funding effectively immediately. No, wait. The dean panicked. I ignored him. Easton and Weston escorted me away. They went too far. Easton growled as we exited the gates. Young master, let's go home, Weston said. I smiled, shaking my head. No, go back and report everything to father. He knows what to do. I'm staying. I need to formally withdraw tomorrow to avoid rumors of me betraying the master-disciple code. Besides, I'm not done with them. They exchanged a look, bowed, and handed me an emergency distress token before leaving. The dean chased after me, sweating. Julian, it was a misunderstanding. I looked at him with a dead smile. Dean, fate has brought us to an end. Tomorrow, I processed my resignation. I flew off to my cave, ignoring his pleas. Deep into the night. Jackpot. Liam was in his room, drooling over Serena's treasures. I slipped in and extinguished the candle. Who's there? He stood up. I grabbed his face, silencing him, and drove a blade into his gut. MH. His eyes bulged. I ripped the blade upward, flaying his stomach open. He wasn't adept yet. His etheric core was physical. I carved it out. MN. He rolled his eyes back in agony. The protagonist was now crippled. Next stop, Serena's quarters. She was lying in bed, broken. Vanessa had sent disciples to strip her room earlier, beating her further when she resisted. Juliet, she looked at me with hate. Here to gloat. Naturally, it's rare to see such a joke. It's your fault. If not for you, Master and Liam wouldn't treat me like this. Delusional to the end. Serena, you shielded Liam, and he let you take the fall. Who caused this? Her eyes wavered. Doesn't matter, I said, closing the door and pulling a dagger. You're going to die. She tried to sit up, but collapsed. What are you doing? Revenge. You left me to die. Now it's your turn. I clamped her mouth shut. She watched the knife enter her abdomen. I found her shattered core and dug it out. pH, blood soaked the sheets. Don't worry, you're already a pariah. If you vanish, everyone will assume you ran away in shame. I dropped her. She tried to beg. Saudi brother, I'll do anything. I smiled. Pain really is the best teacher. In your next life, be a better sister. I poured the corpse-dissolving fluid, a system item, over her face. It hissed like water and hot oil. Her features melted. The acid ate through flesh and bone until she was nothing but a red stain. I cleaned the scene, burned her clothes, and planted a forged farewell letter. Step 2. I bought a demon-masking pill from the system and headed toward the Dark Lands, a region teeming with monsters and demons. I was gone for a month. When I returned, I met Easton and Weston in town. The Blackwood family had crushed the Rose family economically. The Rose patriarch had beaten Lydia half to death and ordered her to get me back or get out. She had been searching for me, wounded and desperate. Leak my location, I told them. Young master, don't worry. It's the last time I'll see her. I waited at Autumn Wind Lake. Lydia arrived that night looking skeletal. Julian, is it you? She tried the pity angle. Julian, we grew up together. How could you be so cruel? Are you jealous of Liam? We're innocent, I swear. I watched her performance. If you want, I'll stay away from him, just for restore the engagement. I sneered. Lydia, didn't you say having me as a fiancé was shameful? She paled. I was impulsive. No, you were honest. You're here because the money is gone. Why would I marry a woman who bites the hand that feeds her? Her face twisted. You lure me here. Smart girl. I waved my hand, knocking her into the mud. I opened a bottle of feral pheromones and poured on her. This is the wilderness. Beast attacks are tragic. I signaled Weston to release the captured monsters. No, Julian. She grabbed my leg. I am sorry. I was wrong. I kicked her away. You're not sorry. You're just dying. The beast descended. I walked away to the sound of wet, tearing noises. Lydia's remains were found the next day, picked clean. I tipped off the authorities about the Rose family's illegal salt smuggling. The entire clan was arrested. With Serena and Lydia gone, I went to Liam's room. Vanessa was there, spoon-feeding the invalid. Julian, you dare return? She stood up. I have a debt to settle. I walked in. Vanessa, seeing my disrespect, flew into a rage. Traitor! Smack! I slapped her out of the air. She hit the floor, lip split. You, my dear master, did you think a mere archmage could lecture me? She screamed. I am your teacher. Boom. I slammed her face into the floorboards with gravity magic, cratering the ground. God! She vomited blood. I grabbed her hair and pulled her head up, patting her cheek. You're weak, Vanessa. Thought. I slammed her head down again. Julian, you bowed to me. Thought. And now you bow to me. Fair trade, bastard. She tried to channel energy. I blasted her chest with a palm strike, shattering her ribs. She was tough. Didn't die. I walked toward Liam. No, don't touch him. Vanessa crawled toward him like a ghost. I'll kill you. I backhanded her away. Relax. I'm sending you to hell together. I drew my sword. You reside. She panicked. Yes, you're biased, incompetent, and dangerous. For my safety, you have to go, Julian. Wait. She finally felt fear. If you're jealous, I can love you too. I'll favor you from now on. I sighed. Pain really is the only language they understand. I swung the sword. Vanessa's head rolled. Time was up. Dark clouds swirled over the soul's disorder. Purple lightning crackled. Demons, a demon invasion. The alarm bells rang. A massive horde of demons and beasts surrounded the mountain. The elders tried to organize a defense, but the horde was overwhelming. This was my doing. In the past month, I had infiltrated the Dark Lands, intercepted the plot line where Liam would have seduced the demon princess, and killed her instead. I seized control of the horde through sheer power and directed them here. The demons slaughtered the students and elders who had tormented Nolan. The dean rushed to Liam's room to find Vanessa beheaded. He ran out to fight the demons, but was too late. The order was a slaughterhouse. I descended from the sky. Master, the order is purged, a demon general reported. Good. Leave no one alive. Yes, they feared me. I walked through the blood, watching the destruction of the place that had enabled my suffering. Master, we killed 9 elders and 500 disciples. Only the dean remains. I'll handle him. I stabbed the general through the chest. What? Saw thee. I'm on the good guys. I slaughtered the remaining demons easily. Julian, the dean, covered in blood, saw me killing demons. You survived. You were the order's pride. Dean, actually I planned this whole thing. I drove my sword through his throat because you were kind enough to ignore my suffering. I'm sending you to heaven. He died with his eyes wide open. I returned to Liam's room. He was still alive despite the stab wound. His heart was on the right side. Protagonist physiology. I stabbed him in the left chest, the liver, the spleen, the feet. I turned him into a pincushion. The system spoke. Stop stabbing. He's dead, is he? I incinerated his body to ash and trapped his soul in a soul banner. Now he's dead. The news of the Solstice Order's fall shook the world. The official story: Julian Blackwood returned to find his order destroyed by demons, fought a heroic last stand, and wiped out the invaders. I rebuilt the place as the Veritas Order. I became the youngest sect master in history. A year later, the system shunned. Host Nolan's soul is repaired. Mission complete. Returning to origin. Nolan woke up in my headspace. I won. Yes. You can go home. What about you? I'll ascend to godhood. Nolan was silent. Julian, thank you. Just go and learn a lesson. Don't be a doormat. He left. It was quiet. 30 years later, I ascended to the higher realm. I beat up the celestial bureaucracy, mastered space-time magic, and 150 years later, I figured out how to travel dimensions. I remember no one. I thought Why not take a vacation as world? Story complete.